Hi YouTube friends and family, I'm a survivor and thriver here. Guys, I got a request asking if I could show how to thread this machine, the sewing machine that I have. This is a Singer model 401A, and this sewing machine was built in 1951. And I needed new thread, like my bobbin ran out of thread, and I decided that I'll go ahead on and show you how to thread this machine. Now that I need to do it again. All right, so if you're new to sewing and you don't know, this little thingy here is called a bobbin. This is it here. And what you would need to do is take the thread from off the top of the machine here. It was in here like this. So I'm taking it off. And what you do next is this. This is a little knitting needle here, and so what you do is you take the thread I have here and you put it inside of here to the bottom, and there's this little part here that you have to wrap the thread around like so. And there is this little part that you bring out here. And I'll show you the next part. Okay guys, this bobbin has 4 holes in it. So the smallest hole, you have to take the thread and place the thread from the bottom up into the top into the smallest hole there. As you can see, I have it here. And once you do that, what you do is you place the bobbin on top of this portion here. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is thread this bobbin a little bit because it's a little lax here. Going to thread it onto the spool like so. Hold this little bobbin here. And there's a knob right here. And what you do is you hold this, turn this knob to the left until it loosens. Grab hold of your thread here, place this up like so. And then what you do is you press the foot, the presser foot on the bottom of the machine, not the presser foot, but the little portion where you press it to make the thread, to reel the thread onto the spool. So I press it on here like this, and I just let the little thread here go and wind it up on the bobbin. That action takes the thread from down here, from the spool, up here and to the bobbin. Okay, so I think that's enough there, and so what I'm going to do is stop it here and go to the next step. Okay, the next part is this. Remember, we tightened this little spool here, so what we're going to have to do is grab hold of it a little firmly, take the little knob here and press it to the right, and this action allows for the presser foot to go up and down at that point. So what we do now is we take the bobbin and we cut the thread off of the bobbin here, and we take the spool, and I'm going to cut off this little portion here. And more than likely you wouldn't have to do that, but I found that when I was taking the bobbin off, there was a little thread that had wound a little bit around here, and it got a little kink, so I just had to cut that portion off. So now I'm going to take the spool like so, place it up here where it originally was. And from here, I have a piece of thread in my hand here. And so what I'm going to do with this is wind the machine up from this point. So I'm going to bring you in a little closer here so you can see what I'm doing here more clearly. I hope you could see more clearly here. So let me put this camera up a little bit. So we go from the spool, which is here, and there's this little portion inside of here, and we take the thread and put it into that little portion and pull it, and it snaps inside of there. Okay, so now there's another portion here. You take your thread and go inside of this little portion right here, and there's a little groove around this portion here. Okay, this is the thread tightener, I think. And so there's a little spring-like little thing here. And I'm sorry for the terminology that I'm using, guys. I'm still learning myself, and I don't know the terminology for every part of the sewing machine, so just be a little patient with me, please. And so what I normally do is hold the thread here so it doesn't reel off of the reel. Lift this up, and automatically it engages the thread inside of this little area here. The next portion is this little arm here. This little arm here, you place the thread inside of that hole there that's on the arm. You pull the thread down, and then there's this little portion here that you have to place the thread inside of there as well. All right, this little portion right here. Okay, so once we get that done, there's another portion here. It's like a little hook right here. You place the thread in there, snaps inside of there, and now you have that portion inside of that little hook there. From there, there's another little hook here. You place it inside, the thread inside of there, and now the thread is inside of that little hook area. Now this portion here, there's a little groove inside of this little square little area. So you place your thread inside of that little groove, and you just have to remember to keep the thread inside of that little hook portion. Okay, now the last portion is this. I normally turn the light on for this so I can see it a little bit better. Although my eyesight is very good, I still use this light to help me with this portion. The eye on this needle here, you have to place your thread inside of the eye there. And so it's a little tricky sometimes, but you know, you pull it through. Let's see if that's inside of there. Yeah, I did it. You pull the thread through there, and you take your thread, and I normally grab the spool up top to tighten it up a little. Okay, and so now I have my thread there. So I'm going to turn this light off because I don't need it for this portion here. So remember the bobbin? Okay, so we're going to take the little bobbin. There's this little portion here on top of the bobbin here that I normally cut off. And so I'm going to take that, cut that off there. I take the bobbin, place it inside of its housing down here at the bottom, and inside of that little bobbin area there's a little hook area right here. You take the thread and you carry the thread around like so, and you pull it out to the back with your other piece of thread there. So you have two pieces of thread, one for the bobbin underneath, and you have this thread for the spool of thread that goes on top. You take this little plate, you close it, and now we're on to the last part of threading the sewing machine. What you have to always do is make sure the thread is in the center position. So there's a little knob here where I would put it to the center. See, that position is in the center in that little area, arrow area. So to the left is here, center is here, and right is there. So I put it into the center. Okay, so when I did that action, that moved the needle into the center position. You would take your knob here that you tightened up, and you would bring the knob towards you. And as this with this action, it's going to be pulling the needle down in a downward motion, and it's going to pick up that thread for the bobbin underneath there. So once you do that, hold on one second, let me get a proper positioning. Okay, we're back. So what you do is you hold this thread here with this hand, you turn the knob towards you, and this action pulls the thread up from underneath where the bobbin is located, the bobbin thread, and it forms a little loop inside of this area. I know you can't really see it too well, but when you're doing that action, you'll plainly see it. So I take a pair of scissors, hold the thread here with my hand so it doesn't move, and I move the scissors to the left, and that action takes the bobbin thread from this little hole here underneath the needle, and it pulls it through that hole, and now both of your threads, the thread to your spool and the thread to your bobbin, are lined up together. So when that happens, I just take the thread and place them both in the back like this. I close the little plate here, and I'm ready for sewing. Okay, so that's how I thread my sewing machine, and it works beautifully. I love this machine, and if you have any more questions for me about this machine, I'll be more than happy to assist you as far as, you know, whatever I know about it. I know it has this little cool little spot here where it actually shows you how to thread the machine. There's a little diagram there, and so you close that and it's not exposed anymore. And there's also a little area here where the spool is, and shows you the different stitches that you can get from this machine by adjusting these knobs here. All right, isn't that cool, guys? All right, guys, so that's my Singer Model 501A, built in 1959 and still going strong. If you have any more questions, place them below. Any information, you know, you may have on this, additional information, will be surely welcome. And just any input, you know, we're all learning here. You know how it goes, guys. If you want to be like me, I'm a survivor and thriver. Out.